at the Department of Special Needs Education at the University of Oslo. He focuses on the impacts of brain damage on speech, language, and communication. He develops AI tools for automatic speech and language analysis, and he's the leader of the Open Brain AI project. His previous roles include a postdoctoral fellowship at Johns Hopkins University, and prior to that at the University of Gothenburg and Princeton University. And his academic credentials include a PhD in linguistics, among many other things, and among many publications. On a more personal note, Harris and I began our academic journeys together back in 2000, like 24 years ago, when we started our bachelor's degrees together. So it's a pleasure to welcome him and hear him discuss AI in clinical therapy and assessment. Welcome, Harris. We're ready for you.
Thank you so much. It is a great honor to talk to you, to talk to Swati and you and everybody there. Yeah, actually with Maria, we were taking undergraduate notes together, just to give you as undergraduate students at the university. So today I'm gonna talk. Is that okay with the sound? If there is a problem, just
we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So typically, when we talk about AI in clinical assessments, many picture robots, algorithms overriding human judgment, and a future where machines call the shots. In a recent talk, I shared a video of a ChatGPT-powered robot capable of full conversation. And the response was concern, even alarm. But the reality is quite different. AI in healthcare isn't about replacing human expertise. It's about enhancing it. Think of it as a powerful companion.
Harris, are you moving? Harris, we're still seeing the first slide. Are you moving your slides?
No, I'm in the first slide.
Okay, just making sure.
Giving a kind of a broad overview. So I think of AI as a kind of a companion, as something that will help clinicians make better decisions. So I will start with that. How can we use AI in everyday language assessment and diagnosis? But allow me first to say a few things. Aphasia can be among the earliest symptoms in patients with dementia. We know that from the NAN study, a longitudinal study of dementia, that displayed changes in speech production in individuals starting as early as the age of 30. Early decline in lexical and syntactic production also appears in the works of British novelist Iris Murdoch and Agatha Christie, and the talks of the US President Ronald Reagan, who all of them had dementia. So my hypothesis is that by detecting these language changes early, and there are differences from or with healthy individuals, we can develop automated prognostic and screening models and inform treatment protocols for patients with aphasia. So aphasia diagnosis relies a lot on multiple sources that includes, as you know, imaging, visual perception, memory, attention, and language. Language assessments, some common ones are the Boston Diagnostic Aphasia Examination, the Western Aphasia Battery, the Comprehensive Aphasia Test, and the PALPA. What these assessments provide is that they provide scores about speech and language. like the confrontational naming and sentence repetition scores, which are informative about language functioning and pathology. These traditional pen and paper assessments, while well established, are, as you know, time intensive, and they can be stressful for patients, especially if they take a lot of time. Also, the development of an assessment into another language, because it's not simply a translation, okay? Because it's not easy, especially for low resource languages and dialects, because it requires substantial and costly research for maintaining the psychometric properties and cutoff points so that the outcomes are comparable across languages. The manual assessments may be hard to adapt to meet the needs of patients, also from culturally and linguistically challenging environments. The evaluation of scores from different types of aphasia assessment. So if we want to compare, say, scores or take a lot of scores and then try to see which ones predict aphasia better, is an extraordinary task, especially if you want to do that in a specific individual. For this reason, we read the review articles and so on, but still it's not something that you can do easily. And I will argue that with AI, this is not the case. So what are the aims of this talk? The aims of the talk are first to argue that AI-driven analysis of aphasia provides biomarkers and allows the development of machine learning models. Thus, it can improve diagnosis, prognosis, and inform personalized treatment plans for individuals with aphasia. To present Open Brain AI, a novel tool for computational language assessment, and to argue that computational and AI tools can support speech and language pathology, to automate and quantify aspects of diagnosis, prognosis, and intervention, focusing on tasks that matter concerning their clients. So I will start by providing a concept, my concept, or if you like, a definition, a primer of the computational language biomarkers of aphasia, and then I will discuss a custom pipeline for performing screening and diagnosis, and I close this talk with a description of the and discussion of the Open Brain AI and what is this tool about and why we and how we can use it. So, a critical concept from my point of view and the point of view of how we analyze language is that is the concept of multimodality. That is, text and speech provide multimodal information. Multimodality involves eliciting different types of information from both written speech production and spoken speech. So for instance, from a speech recording, we can elicit information about the voice quality, prosody, we can get the syllable duration, pauses, and of course, if we transcribe that, we can get information about the grammar, the lexicon, the parts of speech, and conversational cues, as in turn-taking, and social cues, like the dialects and so on. This is something different from the traditional approach we have with a standardized test, like a naming test, for instance, which aims to quantify typically a unique or a single linguistic domain. Multimodality is especially reflected when we analyze discourse and conversation. Discourse and conversation provide an ecological approach, or at least a more ecological approach than a test conducted in a lab or in a clinic, because it provides naturalistic information about an individual's speech production and language functioning. From discourse and conversation, we can derive various types of information, such as information about the macrostructure of the text that involves information about the cohesion and coherence. These terms simply mean that speakers need to put words and sentences in a specific order, but also in a way that makes sense. The microstructure, like the phonetics, the phonology, prosody, morphology, and all the domains that we use when we analyze sentences. And of course, conversation provides a lot of information like turn-taking cues. That is how speakers signal that they are ending their talk or they want to take the turn. Overlap resolution devices. And as we said, it conveys additional information about the sociolex, for instance, education and so on, and the dialect of the speaker or specific language variety, as well as physiological information. For instance, someone may have a cold, okay, and pathology. One example, and most traditionally, we were using not discourse and conversation, but tasks like a picture and description task to elicit connected speech, or maybe sometimes the grandfather, like a reading task. But discourse and conversation as defined now provides much more information because it is interactive as well. So allow me to provide one slide account of the approach that I propose in this research. First, we begin with the multimodal input. Say that can be an audio recording, a written speech production, and I can say as things improve, we can also analyze video. And then what we do is that we get representations from the acoustic signal or representations from the written speech production. And that representation, for instance, from an audio recording is the waveform of the spectrogram. And then we can analyze these further by conducting an automated audio transcription and get the actual text. Subsequently, we use methods, which we call AI methods, like signal processing for analyzing the acoustic signal and eliciting specific measures from the acoustics. Natural language processing, where we analyze the text, and machine learning, which can provide a lot of information from both the acoustics or the text. Then we conduct different measures. After we analyze the acoustics, we can quantify the acoustic domain and get measures about prosody, about say, duration and so on. The phonetics, like the phones or again, intonation, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, discourse, and conversation. This will result essentially in a plethora of measures, a lot of measures, and these measures can be can extend into depending on the tool and everything. And that's a kind of a different approach from the traditional approach where we go and get one measure for a test. Here, the aim is to get a lot of measures and then select those measures that are associated with aphasia. which measures from the pool of measures that we can elicit from the acoustic signal or from the text constitute biomarkers of aphasia. That is, which of those measures are predictive of aphasia, because not all of them can be, say, can correlate, say, with aphasia. And then we can use those biomarkers for two purposes. First, to understand the brain and pathology, and then to use them and develop machine learning models for screening, diagnosis, prognosis, therapy efficacy, and develop therapeutic protocols. So our hypothesis, slightly revised, is that the language measures, from the language measures, we develop the language biomarkers. And so the aim of this research is essentially to determine from the plethora of measures which ones are changing due to language impairment. And the hypothesis is that if there is a damage in the network, somewhere in the network, we will see an effect on the measures. So we will see an effect on the acoustics, on the phonology. And a second point that I want to make is that not all of the measures that we are collecting have a physical meaning. Intonation has a physical meaning, like the fundamental frequency associated with intonation, but some of the spectral properties or eye vectors do not associate easily with a specific aspect of articulation or speech production. So these tools are involved, a set of tools like for identifying words, identifying the root of a word, identifying the grammatical category of the word, finding the semantic category, identifying the structure of sentences, producing topic modeling, semantic information, and signal processing. I will say from here that these are tools that are already implemented in OpenBrain AI, and I will get back to this. So the idea from these tools is to elicit a variety of measures from speech markers, and I'm not gonna go through this table in detail, but just to give you an idea that the measures can be, we can extend and get extensive and get a lot of measures from this. And I'm gonna get like a first discussion of a study we conducted first with Kiran and Sapkini. Is the automatic labeling of text, especially here we have the cookie thread picture description task in patients with primary progressive aphasia. And here we develop a custom metric that includes the ratio of the content word to function words. And this ratio, as you can see, displays a difference in the non-fluent, in patients with the non-fluent primary progressive aphasia, who, as you know, are characterized by agrammatic speech production. And the agrammatic speech, and the agrammatism is something that you can elicit essentially automatically by analyzing or reanalyzing the cookie theft with a part of speech tagger. And also, if you proceed and you analyze it again, you're going to see that the same tool also describes naming errors. A second type of analysis was conducted earlier, and that is informative about speech decline in individuals with mild cognitive impairment. And we can see that patients with mild cognitive impairment are producing speech which is substantially slower or significantly slower than that of healthy controls, and that is captured by different measures that you can see in the right panel, like the speech rate. As you can see, it is slower. I don't know if you can see my pointer. It's in the lowest plot. is slower than that of healthy controls. The same is the articulation rate, whereas the syllable duration is longer, which is an indicative of slower speech. We were also able to show that measures like the difference of the first harmonic to the third amplitude and the cerebral peak prominence and measures of shimmering, which is characteristic of voice quality, and the center of gravity were distinctive and were able to distinguish individuals with mild cognitive impairment versus those with that were healthy controls. So again, by analyzing the acoustic signal, we can get a lot of information that can result in a tool that can separate the two categories. And I'm just gonna go through this. The current large language models, like ChatGPT and Gemini, are based on a model that is known as transformer architecture. The transformers include in their final layer something that is called word and sentence embeddings. The embeddings are able to capture the cohesion and coherence of discourse. So by using features from word embeddings, we were able to classify or subtype individuals with mild cognitive impairment into the amnestic and non-amnestic variant in a study we conducted with R.G. Hillis and Hannah Kim. The study included the written picture description, written form of the picture description task, the cookie test. The same thing was conducted. We did a similar study on children with autism. And again, we analyzed storytelling and story retelling, and we were able to distinguish children with autism from typically developing children by using a machine learning model that included those word embeddings. With this, I just want to argue that essentially, yes, we can analyze discourse, but we can also reanalyze the existing tasks that we have and get much more information from those tasks, like from speech, the picture and description, the storytelling and recall, of course, conversations. We can also analyze writing, reading, and comprehension. We can also develop other tasks that I'm not going to go into detail, but as an idea, that can be a map task or a free conversation that can provide a lot of information with and about interaction. So just to provide an overview of what we discussed with the biomarkers of aphasia, is that the language biomarkers can quantify language and generate novel objective metrics and can inform prognosis and diagnosis and treatment efficacy, can be elicited using ubiquitous digital devices like mobile phones and tablets, and that's one of the aims of Open Brain AI is that that we will discuss later, is that with these tools like Open Brain AI, you can elicit measurements about language at different time points, right? And you can do these measurements at home, for instance, or in different other settings. So it's possible to capture ecological and real world communication scenarios and observe language use over longer periods of time and gather information and record changes. Now, the second part is that we can use those measures to conduct as diagnostic tools or as subtyping tools. And I'm going to discuss 3 studies related to this aim. First is about the subtyping of patients with mild cognitive impairment. Again, as we said, the patients with mild cognitive impairment start with symptoms that are kind of early in a preclinical phase, where patients may notice some changes, including they can feel changes on language, episodic memory, social interaction. And then we move into the mild cognitive impairment phase, where there are cognitive changes that concern the individual and their families. But the overall activities of daily life are preserved. And then we move to, this can progress into Alzheimer's disease. So patients with mild cognitive impairment may have a lot of, are at high risk of developing Alzheimer's. So the idea is, again, to develop a pipeline that performs the same classification at first, which can be used for screening and then subtyping by using the measures we discussed earlier. So that's the first study. That's it's a study that we conducted with Swedish patients, and it starts with the Swedish version of the cookie-fed picture and description task. From this, we extracted acoustic measures about the vowel formants, the fundamental frequency, the duration, the gender and the age, and then we developed a deep neural network for, the deep neural network is a very advanced machine learning model. It's probably the most advanced form of machine learning, and it doesn't provide feature importance. And we had a classification that was close to 83% classification accuracy. Then we conducted, this first show us that from acoustics in combination with a machine learning model, we can develop like a classification with relatively high accuracy, which was an important finding at the time. That was in 2018. And in 2018, when we submitted the article, this article, people were asking us, where are the p-values? And they were, most of them, not familiar with machine learning. So that's the second, after that study that shows that it's possible to classify them, we conducted a subsequent study, and this is with, as I said, with R.G. Phillips and Hannah Kim, where we included into the model, again, measures from the picture description task, and that included a lot of measures from morphology, from syntax, from semantics, along with measurements from word embeddings. And with this, we were able again to perform a subtyping task with a relatively high accuracy and an F1 score at close to 0 to 70%, which again shows that it is possible if you combine those metrics with word embeddings, you can derive a classification model with a relatively high accuracy. Similarly, we conducted another classification study for subtyping patients with primary progressive aphasia into variants, the non-fluent variant of primary progressive aphasia, the semantic variant of primary progressive aphasia, and the logopenic. And in this group, I'm not going to go into details about the characteristics of primary progressive aphasia, But one important point that I want to make is that the idea of getting measures from each variant and is that it provides correlate also with the brain. That's why I kept this very quite this plot. And this is a study again that we conducted with many teams from Hopkins, and RG Healy was there, Beck Denoten, and others, where it shows the implementation of the pipeline for getting the acoustic signal, processing the acoustic signal, performing segmentation, processing the audio for eliciting acoustic measures, then transcribing it automatically with a third pipeline, and analyzing the automatic transcription. And then we perform model comparison with different other machine learning models, like the deep neural network, random forest, support vector machines, and decision trees. And we were able to perform a classification of the patients with primary progressive aphasia into variants with 80% classification accuracy. In fact, we were able to capture the patients with non-fluent primary progressive aphasia with 90% accuracy and 95% the patients with the logopenic. So moving on to the second idea. The second idea is that, again, using the automated biomarkers in a classification model using machine learning, we can detect mild cognitive impairment early. The models provide objective measurements, and of course, they allow for advanced personalized care through the subtyping of patients with mild cognitive impairment. And hopefully, they facilitate accurate and efficient diagnosis. And of course, they show the primary argument of this talk that by having AI in the clinic, that AI in the clinic can support the clinician in various ways, especially for screening and also for quantifying the aspects of speech and language production. And with this, I would like to say a few words about Open Brain AI, which is a tool that I have developed so that those tools that I just discussed not only in my computer, but they support the community and empowering clinicians and researchers. I like to say that the Open Brain AI's mission is to help develop a future where technology amplifies human potential and enables healthier lives and empowering clinicians and educators to focus on what truly matters. Open Brain AI is a web platform. It was released in 2020 during COVID, but it relies on technologies that earlier as discussed. So the first part that you can see when you log into Open Brain AI is a familiar text editor. And you can use the editor to write text and, of course, analyze the text and perform different tasks. So what type of analysis? The Open Brain AI includes the Open Brain AI Companion, which is ChatGPT, if you like. It's not ChatGPT, it is a ChatGPT-like language model that allows clinicians to automate some of their work by providing or producing reports, improve content, evaluate grammar. Maybe they can use it to just ask questions about patient transcripts and so on. The second part is the actual OpenBrain AI functions that clinicians can use to analyze a text or a speech sound. So it includes automated speech transcription, and then so clinicians can analyze an acoustic sound and transcribe it automatically, and then analyze the transcript for grammar, like clinicians can elicit measures about the readability, lexical measures, the phonology, morphology, syntax, and so on. And of course, there are additional tools for automatic translation and part-of-speech visualization and grammar and finding grammar errors. The assessment that you can see here, it just provides a quick assessment on whether the text might have been produced by a speaker with speech and language disorders. It's not an assessment about the specific condition. So what type of measures someone can elicit by using OpenBrain AI? Clinicians can elicit readability measures like the flash reading or the Gunning or the Falk index. They can get measurements about the type-token ratio, the idea density, in the lexical measures. In the phonology, you can measure the number of syllables and also the number of phonemes and the types of phonemes, vowels, and consonants in the text. In morphology includes a complete morphological analysis of the text and provides measures. And you can also, if you do the word labeling, you can get a label, a morphological label for each word, including syntactic label about noun phrases and verb phrases, and semantic measures. For clinicians or researchers that want to analyze multiple texts automatically, the advanced clinical tools allow clinicians to analyze multiple texts automatically and provide and get an Excel file that includes one patient under or text under the other that you can use in a statistical software for statistical analysis. And as I said, the measures that we discussed at the beginning are exactly the measures that you can elicit from OpenBrain AI. Finally, you can see here a text with the automated transcription and part-of-speech labeling. That's for visualization purposes, but it can also be informative for researchers. The OpenBrain AI supports several languages. It's not just English. It supports Catalan, French, Greek, Italian, Norwegian, and so on. And as you can see, this is the Google Analytics. It shows the OpenBrain AI traffic, the users that are using OpenBrain AI. And it is suggestive of the languages as well that are supported. And soon, more languages will be supported. And that's one of the aims of my project, is to extend those measurements to many other languages. Finally, I want to close with this. As we move into multimodality, the role of speech and language pathologists evolves and can integrate more with AI. collaboration between AI and practitioners can optimize patient care. And also there is a critical need for ongoing education and adaptation of new technologies. And of course, we advocate for a multidisciplinary approach to artificial intelligence development that involves practitioners in the design and implementation process. So this is some of the collaborators in the research that I discussed, and I'm very happy to take questions from you. I cannot hear you. Now, yes. Yeah.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah, maybe
Yes,
you
now.
can stop sharing your screen so you can see people, and then you can always come back to your screen if you want to show something. Because we have a lot of people online as well.
Yes.
Do you have questions?
No.
Can I start with a question, and maybe people, unless somebody already has a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see anybody raising their hand yet. So my understanding of how you're doing the open brain AI is for every, I mean, you're systematically looking at the biomarkers across populations and learning from each of those features, right? I'm just trying to figure out how you're going from the biomarker work to the open brain AI work, because you're doing it very, very systematically by feature, by group, by clinical population. But to scale it to a, an integrated platform is complicated. So just, can you walk us through how you're planning to do that, please?
Yeah, first, the open brain AI is not trained on pathology on patients.
Okay.
It is trained on healthy individuals. So when you conduct a measurement with regards to open brain AI, what you have essentially is a difference between the production that a patient may provide and the gold standard, essentially, in quotation marks, that comes from healthy individuals. That's why we are able to use that to study both healthy controls that should have minor differences from the expected production, say, and patients who should have major differences. And that's why I was trying to make the argument at the very beginning, is that we expect by association that if there is a frontal damage or a temporal damage in the brain, we are gonna see differences in the production, in language. And this is what we expect. And these differences should be measurable. So we will be able to analyze them using open brain AI, say, and we can elicit quantifiable measures of those differences that manifest the damage in the brain. So the approach, and I hope that came out from this presentation, is that you can find correlates from speech production and language with, say, with a damage in the brain, or if you use an MRI scan to measure thickness, for instance, you may be able to find correlates between cortical thickness and language production. If that was so simple, that would have been great. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think there are a couple of questions online if you want to read them. And
Yeah, I don't, let me see, because I cannot see the.
You want to read them, Berg?
Sure. So someone asked,
now, yes.
oh, do you see it?
Yes, yeah, now. So from Arbida, thank you for an informative presentation. I have a question about the morphological measures. What looks to me, they are different measure of lexical distribution rather than morphological measures, would you be able to incorporate more complex morphological features like the complexity of words, inflectional properties in morphologically rich languages? Yes, Arpita, if you go into the specification of the text, you are going to find the inflectional information automatically. There are also automated and quantified measures of the part of speech, and this is what I meant. I meant with morphological features. So you can get, for instance, the number of nouns or the ratio of nouns. The ratio is important because it is a way to standardize the number of nouns with the total number of words in a text. But morphological complexity of words, if you mean compounds, and this is, I guess, the question. Yeah, now compounds are not part of OpenBrain AI, but you can get a number of syllables if that helps. There are some measures that are added on the way. When nouns or verbs have multiple inflections, yes, you can get the inflections of those. If it is, say, third person and so on, yeah, you can get that. Singular, plural, again, you can get that. Now, as it is now in the form that you have. Is OpenBrain AI a HIPAA compliant platform? Also, another question that I'm getting a lot, and also here in Europe, if it is compliant with the European HIPAA, the OpenBrain AI doesn't save data into the platform. The server is quite small. It's like a 50 giga server that runs everything. So nothing is getting saved. Nothing is getting retained from the input and also from the output of OpenBrain AI. HIPAA compliance requires some more legalists and lawyers to get involved to get the approval, which is something that I haven't done yet. But overall, it is something that if you are concerned about safety, that's something, I mean, and you require HIPAA approval, then you cannot do it on OpenBrain AI. But if you want to analyze text and you would like to know if these are safe or if there is danger of using OpenBrain AI, then there is not. Because OpenBrain AI doesn't save anything, either from the production or the output. And also, I am trying, in addition to the things in the backend, is to provide full encryption, which is coming soon. Full encryption will make the analysis a little slower, but you will have the option to select to perform an encrypted analysis or not.
Other questions?
So I can ask one more question about, you said earlier that your OpenAI models have been trained on earlier versions. How important is it to keep updating the models? Have you trained it once, or do you keep updating it? And what's the data that you need to, especially since you have so many different languages, what's the data you need to update it?
Yes, that's a very nice question. I am updating the models regularly, and that's an important thing. When you cite the app, is to cite the specific version of the models, because each time you may be getting a different model or a more improved model. There is also something that I want to say, and I didn't mention. I don't know if you can, I think you cannot see my screen now.
I mean, if you want to share, you can share your screen.
Yeah, allow me to do that, and get it back. If you see the select language, if you click on, under that, there is a precision button. The precision is, it selects a more accurate model. The differences are not big, but it's more accurate. And if you select the precision, then it will be a little slower. But giving the precision, you can get the more accurate model. And accurate it is because it relies on a bigger corpus.
That's great. I mean, this is an incredible resource, really. It is. It's super impressive.
Yeah.
And you can feed your model both text and audio file or just text?
Audio. You can start with the audio.
You can start with the audio.
Yeah.
I think you have another online question.
Yeah. From Biao Yang. I just want to start by saying I read your research on OpenBrain AI and I thoroughly enjoy it. With my background in neurologic music therapy, working with multilingual dementia, Alzheimer's patients, and those with aphasia, this project really resonates, and I have a few questions actually. Thank you, Priya, for your comments, and I really appreciate that. Since language and cognitive expression can vary widely across cultures and linguistic backgrounds, subtyping if you have observed any differences in diagnostic outcomes based on language or cultural context. For example, does the model adapt effectively to nuances in different languages and dialects, or does subtyping accuracy shift depending on a patient's primary language or cultural factors? First, I have to say is that in the OpenBrain AI, it doesn't have a subtyping or a diagnostic model. And the reason is that we don't want to have a diagnostic model directly on OpenBrain AI at the moment. But what I can say about the adaptability to cultures and linguistic backgrounds, that's what actually motivated this research. And that's why the OpenBrain AI includes multiple languages and soon dialects. Now, how many, and of course, how many languages and how many dialects, that will depend on the data. And that's why I'm very open to collaborations with different labs that can provide dialectal data or data from different languages to add them into OpenBrain AI. Do you envision or by expanding these measures further, perhaps by integrating more culturally specific language features or using these metrics as benchmarks for monitoring subtle cognitive shifts in patients? Yes, of course, and I think that's related to what we said earlier. I want to say that in January, we're going to have a new version that will add more expanded measures on discourse, topic recognition, and also it will help the transcription of multiple sound files. So this is something that's coming up. Thank you for your great presentation. I'm extremely excited to see that Catalan was a language OpenBrain AI can handle. Yes, actually, it was from the first languages that we had. Can OpenBrain AI derive word length by morphemes in Catalan? I think word length is something you can derive now. Please comment on the failed cases that OpenAI does not do good job with? Is there anything to be learned from them? The failed cases that OpenBrain AI does not put. So all the models have a very specific accuracy, which is quite high. I can comment on an area, if you like, a group of problems that may arise with OpenBrain AI, and these are when we analyze patients with severe apraxia of speech, for instance, or severe grammatical errors. In those cases, I am suggesting to individuals, for instance, here we were asking about children that have stemming, problem in language, how they can analyze these children. And I said, yeah, you can use that to transcribe, provide broad transcription, but you should do it in a supervised manner and see the differences that you get, or at least get the iterated reliability, especially if the population has so much variation in speech production. Please elaborate on the AI analysis method. Sounds like you're using a deep neural network that is refined with new data. Any occurrence analysis involved, co-occurrence analysis, for example, with word associations? How about any graph convolution analysis? We know the study that we used for the subtyping on the papers included multiple measures. Now, I don't understand, like from grammar and also from speech production, which I described earlier. What I don't understand is, what do you mean by co-occurrence analysis involved? Do you mean, I don't understand that. So if you can clarify. Again, Tiao, that's great. I would love to see Sichuanese integrated someday. Thank you for such an insightful presentation. I'm eager to see how OpenBrain AI continues to develop and address these diverse elements. Thank you, Tiao, again. Jacqueline Stark, a collaboration with the Aphasia Bank might be relevant for both. Aphasia Bank includes many languages and a great deal of data. Yes, that would be a nice collaboration. I think we had a very quick chat with with Professor Brian McVinney, and hopefully we can get access to those data and provide this into the users. How well does OpenBrain AI's acoustic feature extraction handle recordings in noisy medical settings? To answer that, I will need to know how much noise exists in those data recordings. So you need to try that and see if the speech is comprehensible or not. If it is not, then you may have problem with the transcription as well. Co-occurrence, as is how often a feature appears. You mean if there is cross-correlation between the features? Yeah, we tested for cross-correlation and we did a feature selection for that, yeah. Thank you for your nice presentations. Is it possible we think about using OpenBrain AI? Is it possible we think about using OpenBrain AI in Farsi? Yes, actually, that would be great to have Farsi included as well, and that might be coming up. Absolutely.
Wow, that was great.
Wow.
I think we have one more question.
I was wondering if OpenBrain AI is able to provide latency data such as start and stop talk times. Yes, it provides start and talk times, and also it can split the clinician from the patient. And again, you can start the beginning and the end of the clinician and the patient, and the beginning and the end of each word. There is a secret link now that you can use to get that feature, but I will integrate it into the clinical tools. Yeah, I have it in, I don't know if I can share it on the chat. I will do that later.
Yeah.
I will do that later.
20
Yeah.
minutes of questions. That was amazing,
Yes.
especially given the time.
Yeah, it's an odd time for everybody, especially you, but it was an amazing discussion. And there's a lot of interest in this work. Thank you
Yeah.
for what you've done.
I'm a little sleepy. It's not my time for speaking. That's why probably my English came like a little late.
It was amazing, Harris, honestly. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thank you
Harris
so much
also
for the.
Promised to come back in a more reasonable time for him, actually demonstrate open brain AI for us. So we'll arrange that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be back in the US November 22 up to December 10, somewhere there. But if we cannot make it, we can do it over Zoom.
We can do it virtually. And thank you everyone for being here and for your engagement. That was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everybody for the participation and for your questions and for the invitation.
Thank you.
Have a great day ahead.
Good night. Yeah.
Thank you.
Kalinita.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.